Like to call the meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. It's Town of Southbridge Joint General Government Subcommittee / Town Council meeting Wednesday, October 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Veterans Room. This video being recorded by audio and video. Agenda item number 1, call the meeting to order. Agenda item number 2 is roll call. Councilor Marchetti.
Present.
Councilor Dow.
Present.
Councilor Montigny, present. Citizen Member Kelly.
Present.
Citizen Member Clements is excused. Alright, so 4-1 here. Agenda item number 3 is approved meeting minutes, October 11th, 2023.
I didn't receive any,
Yeah.
unless it was.
So that was probably that last minute stuff we were just talking about. It is done. It is with the manager's office, but that was.
I apologize if they were there.
Well, I apologize too because Sue sent them directly to me and not to you. So
yeah,
it
we
was
didn't have them.
it was me who didn't really get it till late Monday night, about 3 o'clock. So that's we can just move that to the next meeting.
Alright.
You want to make a motion to postpone?
Sure, I'll make a motion to postpone, agenda item number 3.
Second.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Any discussion on postponing?
What was agenda number 3?
It was the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. They didn't make the packet. It was my fault.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, all those in favor of postponing? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Okay, agenda item number 4 is discussion of the position of recording secretary to the town council. I'm gonna let the town manager explain some things here, but for several weeks it's been of interest to me personally that I think we should discuss how we can get our recording secretary to the town council to be able to do subcommittee meetings and get compensated for them if they do them remotely, which Susan was doing some of them for certain boards, which was very nice, but then unfortunately a week ago she tendered her resignation. So I think it's a great time to be discussing how this position should look, due to the fact that I think it would be nice to be able to add in subcommittees. How would we pay for them? How much would you pay? And how does it work because at times Sue missed the meeting and then she did the subcommittee maintenance at home. I don't know how the pay structure is set up now, or if it could be made something more simple in the future. And I think that's what this agenda item is about. So maybe, Mr. Manager, you have some sort of solution or...
Yeah, there's a lot of questions to unpack there.
Yeah.
But, one, I know this has been an ongoing conversation that we've had for many, many years about recording clerk and council and subcommittee meetings, and at one time I think we had up the salary line item to possibly take care of some of those subcommittee meetings. So this opportunity, when Councilor Montigny asked me about it, as you're aware, Sue tendered a resignation right at the night of the last meeting. Of course, the last time when we hired Sue, and according to former council chairman Daniel, there were not a lot of applicants. So I had seen one of the former people in that role and asked if he'd be interested in possibly coming back. He did give me a summary of what he thought the job should entail, what the salary would look like for that level of position, which I value that input, but it really needs to take a lot of factors into consideration. In the meantime, we had immediately posted the job the next day after Sue had given the resignation. Where, what was it, 2 years ago that Sue started probably? There were one or no applicants, 2 applicants. We immediately, within 2 days, received 13 applicants for the position. And then over the last week, we received 4 additional ones. I've had a conversation with Council Chairman Lazo because that appointment is a town council appointment. Well, it is town council. They work for the town council. The recording clerk works for the town council. So we talked about reviewing the resumes however he wants to review them, with whoever on the town council he wants to select, and conduct interviews. We would gladly help him, but we were going to have a more robust conversation about these are the applicants. A lot of them, we've looked at them, I've done very quick because it's been very crazy this week. cursory look at them. A lot of them don't, not many have a lot of experience as recording secretaries, but it looks like a lot of them are looking for second jobs. One was a paralegal, I believe, and one just explore some additional opportunities. So, and a lot of that too is, you know, when they think part-time, do they really understand what the level of part-time is? Because it's not as much as a regular part-time income. So, we're gonna be taking a look at that, get that packet over to Council Lauzar tomorrow, or Chairman Lauzar tomorrow, so that he can look at it and have a discussion on that. In the meantime, we are gonna look at, I had some thoughts about the question about the budget that had come from, I'll say Max is here, Max had provided some information about what the salary, what he thinks the hourly rate should be and how many hours it would take. And I think we're gonna probably take a look at that line item and try to do a best estimate about, okay, how many hours a week on average is a council meeting? How many hours or in a month is a subcommittee meeting? So they, you know, a subcommittee, if we're talking about they're gonna watch the subcommittee meeting, some of them are only an hour long. How long does it take you to write up the minutes for that? Is it hour for hour? Is it, you know, what would be the best formula for figuring that out, and then cost it out for the year to see if we have enough money.
Right.
So that's the plan. So, and we're doing that on a short timeline because I think Sue said she would be willing to stay at least through mid-November.
Okay.
All right?
My question that I'm not sure who could answer this, but I see that we're trying to figure a solution for the future, but the way we pay for this position now, isn't it kind of like all over the place? It's not like
It's an hourly, I believe.
it's an hourly. You just put in how many hours
How
you
many
work.
hours you work, and then they submit it, and then we pay it.
It's not like
It's not a stipend.
because I remember back in the day. I mean, you guys were on school committee long ago, and it was like 11:59 comes along to 12 o'clock, and now it's a whole new pay and all this.
That I'm not aware
So
of.
it's a regular hourly pay
Yes.
thing.
Yep.
Okay.
As of right now.
Do we know how much we paid Sue per hour? I'm just curious.
She's on the step. I didn't bring my class. She's
Okay.
on the classification. What step was she at? S what?
The current pay is
Yeah.
S5, and like all the personnel reg salaries within the town, everybody's are steps. So after a year, you get a bump, and then a year a bump.
Yeah,
I think there's
okay.
4 steps in the Schedule 5.
So she's within that schedule.
So it's an S5. I think the top pay right now is around 23.
23. Yeah, I think it was
Top
23.59, something like
If you were to
that.
hire somebody new, it'd be more like 20, 21.
Okay, so it's 2021 to
Yeah.
23, almost
Yeah, 'cause
24
they'd be
is the
starting
range
at
that
the-
it's at now.
Right.
First lane.
Okay.
of pay.
So
So then we would take a look at. Well, I never go to the low end because if you get somebody with experience, when you do the budget analysis of it, you want to think about where you're at in that step. If somebody had a lot of experience like Sue did, would you pay her at a higher step because to get in the door, or some other individual that had experience? You know, so that's something that we have to just take a look at and then cost it out based on if it's a higher average, you know, to be on the conservative side, really, it's a higher average, how many hours it's going to take, and what that cost would be. We know the budget figure right now is 10,000 per year, is what we budget for that.
yeah, and I'm thinking just in my head as a filming meetings and stuff before, if it was an hour-long subcommittee, it'd probably take you 2 hours if you were watching it and doing the minutes.
It depends how good you are.
Probably an hour to hour. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be any quicker than that. You know.
No, typically it's about an hour to hour, I think.
So, in my experience,
Yeah. If
I'm
you
Max
remember.
Bellison. I was a former town employee. If you don't know me, most of you already know me. I started the town in 2002 as a recording clerk for the town council. At that time, it was Mike Coughlin. He paid me $75 a meeting. It wasn't per hour. It's been kind of a changing target the whole time I did it. My experience is about maybe 15, 17, somewhere in there between 15 and 17 years of doing minutes for the town, between the town council and the school committee and the planning board, and occasionally the ZBA. And the pay at that start went up at the end. The per meeting rate I was getting was $185 per meeting. I shipped it to the school board in 2009, and it was $185 for any meeting over an hour, and it was $110 for any meeting below an hour, and that included attending the meeting and any minutes to be written later. It was a stipend is.
So like a package
Mr.
deal,
Joe
not
Brown.
an hourly.
This was
exactly.
changed.
Yeah.
This was changed at one point, I think by Kevin Payco.
Okay.
This is a long history.
Yeah.
And it became an hourly rate, and it was booked in with S5, and it was voted onto the Schedule 5. The Schedule 5 is the pay, salary, and the personnel regs. And when I was doing it as an employee for the town, I'm giving you maybe more history than you need. I was
No, I
working
appreciate
at,
it.
but because I was already a 37.5-hour employee here, after 40 hours, the town was obliged to pay me overtime on that raise. So after some time, you know, that's when the last time I parted ways, because that was too much for them to want to pay.
'Cause you're
Now-
already working too many hours.
All right, let me bring you up to, so the last one, and it's been this way for several years now, is S5. And they determine for every hour that you're attending the meeting, this is historically the way it's gone, you get 2 more hours for everything else, for prepping them, for sending the email, for billing, for talking to people, everything else. So a 1-hour meeting pays 3 hours. But you know, you figure it out. If you're gonna go to the meeting, it's worth something. And that's the way that it's been for several hours, for several
Okay.
years. Now, what I'm proposing, last week I was approached by 2 people, the manager and Councilor Montigny, kind of in an informal way, because apparently there was an opening, and I learned this week. And I think the manager offered me a job. It was pretty simple, or not offered it, but implied that there was gonna be a job open, but I don't think he anticipated that I was gonna counter and ask for more money. So I want to lay that out there before I continue, and, because I did, I countered, and that made things more complicated. And then what made it even more complicated is when an ad was run for it and you got 17 applicants. And I'll bet every one of them are willing to do it for the posted rate.
Yeah.
So even though I want more money, because for my experience I should get it, in my opinion, right? I hate to play the devil's advocate in my own, to my own interest, but the manager, I don't know how he can do anything but at least interview these people that are willing to do it for $9 an hour less.
I hear.
That's what I'm afraid of. And I'm afraid of appearances, because I like Jack, I respect him, I've known him for a long time. I don't want this to turn into, you changed everything because
Yeah.
you wanted your guy, Mike. You know what I'm saying?
I hear
Now,
you.
I'll be the best candidate you can hire. Now, having said all that, you're also talking about a new function, the subcommittee thing.
Right.
I'm gonna go right to the chase. I think it's worth a little more than you're paying. And if you make it a higher level, and I outline this to the manager, then I will apply for it. And I think it should be, maybe it is a separate job. Maybe the approach here, Mike, is not to lump them together, but to keep a separate pool.
For subcommittee
And
versus.
just have that be a separate, make it a S11, which is within your power to do it, it's within his power to recommend it, and then create that job. And it wouldn't be one, by the way, it wouldn't be 1 hour and 2 hours for that job, and I'm making this up because of my experience. I've done them for years. It's more of a 1-to-1. Like for every hour there, it'd be and I outlined this to the manager already. Instead of 2 on a regular meeting, because there's a lot more involved with a regular meeting, it wouldn't cost you as much to do a subcommittee. It's 1 hour for every hour it runs, and an hour to prep them and everything else.
Okay.
And that to me is probably the one that you could use me the most for.
Is the
that one.
subcommittee?
Yeah, but
almost
I'm
two
open to the other
positions.
one, but I have to,
Well, I
it's
do. Have,
complicated that I ask for more
No.
money.
I do have to say I appreciate you coming and giving us the history and your opinion as someone who's done the minutes for so long. No matter who gets selected for the position,
Yeah,
I feel a lot more comfortable about this council hiring the next secretary. The way you've
yeah.
helped us learn the history, because maybe there's great questions that I think you and Councilor Lazo would want to sort out. Does it be one position for the actual meeting, one position for the subcommittees, or and the ratios? I appreciate the knowledge base, and because I think it's something that a lot of us weren't even really aware of.
Yeah.
So I know I saw some hands, and this is great discussion. There's nothing to vote on here tonight, but I did see Councilor Dow first.
There was questioning if the town council meet in 3-4 hours, it's gonna take you 3-4 hours to do the minute?
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah.
It does take some time. Especially, when you go into executive, that's part of it too. In my experience, it kind of evened out, but in general, between getting there early and having to email them, having to bill, having to prep those minutes, and for a 2-hour meeting, you're looking at 11, 12 pages long, you know, depending on how many items. But on average, that's what it kind of worked out to. I mean, for years, I was willing to do it per meeting, and I did, and then management changed it to an hourly rate, you know. For 6, 7 years, I did it as a per job rate, but, you know,
Thank you.
and that was what they agreed to at the time, Chris Clark, that it was worth two, it was, in fact, it's written in the, well, it isn't anymore, but it was.
So this position has clearly never had any solidarity in how it's formed and lives and breathes, you know, throughout the years. So it's good. I see at the table first, Citizen Member Kelly, and then I'll grab Councilor Schenker.
I just wanna, is this position, is this like a town employee
It
who's
is.
part-time, or is it independent contractor?
Town employer.
So, okay.
Okay, all set. Councilor Schenker.
Just I wanna just, and make sure I understand myself and what I'm gonna say is accurate. Subcommittee meetings are all recorded now,
Yes.
so the necessary to get minutes written is not necessary any longer, because regardless, the recording meeting supersedes the written minutes. That's the way I understand it.
Well, I personally don't know the answer to that question, and I'll just comment on this because you mentioned that I was having this conversation with somebody else. In 2023, to me, the thought of minutes in general for meetings seems like an antiquated requirement of things like open meeting law and stuff like that, because clearly you can go online and you can watch any of the meetings and see the whole thing. Now, a summary's nice because you just simply don't have the time, but like required by law, I don't know the answer to your question. If you're saying we don't need minutes,
Again, I
Yeah.
don't know 100%, but my understanding is that a recorded meeting supersedes a written minutes, because our minutes are not 100% accurate. They're a breakdown or a
narrative is some,
narrative of what's going on.
yeah.
Where the minutes of the meeting recordings are true if the recordings are accurate. Difficulty I have of asking for another position or adding to more of what's on the agenda, in the budget, is the fact that I think there is far more important things coming up in the future in personnel that we may need additional funding. And we keep adding to these temporary positions or these positions, 5,000 here, 6,000 here, $100 here. Bottom line is, when it comes budget time, we gotta make up everything that we've transferred. So I think that we really have to let the manager and the council chairman, since they're the deciding factor on moving this forward, look at this seriously and make the best recommendation. But again, we're covering a lot, I believe, with the minutes being recorded, and we don't get the minutes posted on online that often. I submitted my PPP subcommittee meetings, all of them, to the upstairs, and none of them's on since July. So
I hear.
I just think they should take a serious look at this and cover the meetings now, and then really look into this.
Right.
Take into consideration what Max has said, but let's take a serious look at this whole picture, because it's coming to the end of the year and budget's being done.
Right, and if you're saying that subcommittee meeting minutes don't need to be done, if that's the case, then obviously there'd be no need for it. But this isn't up to the chairman. The position of the recording secretary is the town council creates the positions. We're not talking about who to hire. That could be arguably up to the chairman, who's going to get hired, or who's going to be put forward on the agenda. But the position of recording secretary, how it's funded, how much they make, that's a town council as a whole.
Correct.
Something that we
He
would
leads town council, and he makes a recommendation. to
of
council.
who to appoint.
Of all of council business, he is the head of council.
Well, the council as a whole, I think, recommends council business. But I hear what you're saying. It's his agenda. That's why he gets to select a candidate. Anyway, I saw Mr. Gullickson's hand up. I'd still like to hear your,
Yeah,
history.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. To Mr. Cheney, I've asked myself that, why do we even need minutes? It's like an anachronism to another time when you didn't have a video recorder in every room. But as far as why, I think it's a requirement of our charter. Any council meeting, I think, has to have
it
a,
could be. I
I
don't
think
know.
that's where the requirement comes from. That's all I have.
Okay. Mr.
Well,
Member Kelly.
On that issue, the recordings, the video recordings, are these permanent records? I mean, are they gonna be in perpetuity available? Because that's one of the functions of minutes, is that they create a permanent record.
Yeah.
I don't know if these recordings at some point in time down the road get erased. I don't even know where they're stored, quite honestly. Or how we would access them, say, 10 years from now, if we wanted to look back. So, you know, I think the minutes do have a function at this point to, you know, make a permanent record of the meeting.
I can't disagree with you. Whether or not it's a rule of our charter, you know, it is whether or not we have to follow it. But yes, you can watch these meetings on YouTube. They're also on the town's server and website, and they're hard copies, digital, that are made upstairs in the cable office. And you know, anything that has been filmed in the last however many long years, you can access those still. Does anybody else have any, Mr. Manager?
In regards to minutes, you know, we'll check the Mass General Law, open meeting law to make sure it's compliant.
Subcommittee.
I don't think it is. I
Yeah.
think it has to be written and record, but
Okay.
I'll double check that.
Okay.
Your point is well taken. A written record, you can go out now to the town clerk's office, be able to see what the minutes are, but we'll research that. This part of this discussion was really to just say, we have an opening for a recording clerk. We weren't gonna talk about what exactly that job function was gonna be. Oh, recording clerk, what were the thoughts? And then we have applicants, and this is the process we're gonna do. And it was just an update on that.
Yeah. I'm satisfied personally. Councilor Marquetti, then Councilor Daniel.
All I wanted to say was, Jack, do you think the charter says you make the decisions on the hiring? I know
Not in this position, no.
No, no.
No.
it's-
I thought all hires, no?
No, I think this one is the town council.
Yeah.
I think, I look at this appointment, it could be a town manager's appointment based on recommendation of the council,
Okay,
okay? But
I do
what I'm
think,
saying is, I'm not gonna make the appointment because it is your employee, just like it's any other department.
I
That's my
have,
point.
I have seen in the charter where it says the town council appoints a
The recording clerk,
the
yes.
town clerk.
Thank you, right, so that would be your appointment, so.
Okay. Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marquetti. Councilor Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Section 29-11 says that a public body shall create and maintain accurate minutes of all meetings, including executive sessions.
And is that the charter you read?
No, that's open meeting law.
Open meeting law from Massachusetts.
So you have to have minutes.
Right, it doesn't, it says inaccurate of the thing, I believe during the pandemic, that changed to allow recordings.
Yes, but not in lieu of the minutes, because earlier in the law it refers
Just
to
move forward.
when people are at a hybrid meeting, the members of the committee that are not present have to be documented in the minutes. So you still need to take the minutes.
I guess we can find out.
Yeah, I agree with you, Councilor Shindy. But thank you, Councilor Daniel. That's all. It's all real great information.
Okay,
And
if I could.
yeah,
Under definitions in the open meeting law, minutes, the written report of a meeting created by a public body required by subsection A of section 22 and section 5A of chapter 66.
Chaps, was that Mass General Law now?
Mass General Law, that's the open meeting law. The open meeting law says written record.
And it's saying subcommittee meetings too.
It doesn't matter, it's a meeting,
No,
a meeting
that's-
of a public body.
Okay, so for all intents and purposes, unless we just misread this together, we're just learning that we guess we do need subcommittee minutes. And I agree with everybody's concerns about making sure we don't overspend, because you know we have a lot of things, and we're not going to get into that. But like, of course, fire station, plenty of other things that we have to pay for in the future that are coming up. So we do have to just continue to be careful. But I think that we've been able to, together, the citizens involved as well, give our town manager enough information to move forward with Chairman Lazo to figure out how this is going to get structured. And I feel confident that maybe in the next cycle, you know, especially because Sue said she'll be here till mid-November, we can come back and maybe have some recommendations of schedule changes, a description, a touch here or there, like we've been doing in the last couple meetings. And but as far as I'm concerned, I appreciate everybody's discussion on the matter, and I'm satisfied. So if hearing no other discussion, and I really appreciate Mr. Gullickson attending for helping us on
Oh,
some
hey,
history.
no problem. Whatever you guys decide to do, you know, all the best.
Thank you so much.
No hard feelings. It was great work for the town. It still is.
Yes,
I'm for the cable board anyway. If you need to see me, I'm up there.
All right, Max. Thanks so much.
Nice to see you. How you guys? Yeah,
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for entertaining that discussion. Agenda item number 5: discuss a review of recreation department transfer request for $135 from account number 001631-571100 conference and meetings to account number 001631-573000 dues and subscriptions for the annual due cost for MA Parks and Recreation Association. Entertain a motion of town council to recommend approval.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Motion by Councilor Dow, second by says Member Kelly. Mr. Manager or?
Thank you. Oh, Michael's here, but in
think
any
it's-
event, this is self-explanatory. Like we're finding a lot of these accounts, they weren't funded properly.
Mhm.
So, there's gonna be a lot more transfers coming forward and because of where accounts were located, so,
Mhm.
whatever this, you can articulate what that's for.
Yep.
Yep.
So, not much has changed throughout the time that I was hired, aside from being full-time, as of fiscal year last year. So, conference and meetings always had, a certain amount of money in it. I didn't have any for dues and subscriptions. Just been hearing a lot of great things about, the Parks and Recreation Association, similar association that, the Council on Aging or, the Senior Center or the Veteran Services, go to, subscribe for in a yearly thing. It's just able to have yearly conferences with other Parks and Rec associations, different classes or walkthroughs online, and just getting together to just kind of see how recreation is being done in other places, get different ideas, bounce ideas off of other people that do similar work throughout the Commonwealth.
Awesome. Does anybody have any discussion? Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. So why would you transfer it from recreation to economic development, department? 573000 is economic development. So why wouldn't you just take it out of, you have $300 in there, why wouldn't you just take it straight out of that instead of transferring it over to another department?
I do believe the first set of numbers is under recreation 001631.
Right.
So that is recreation.
Mhm.
So it is one of my accounts if I look on the accounting software.
Right.
It's just not funded at all, it just has $0. So I reached out to Christine and she said it can't go through conference and meetings, although they would possibly probably have conference and meetings. It's
Right.
not, but I guess the account under recreation is dues and subscriptions. I guess that's just the account that they felt
Council,
it was more appropriate.
I'll
to take
check
it.
that account to make sure it's correct, that they gave the right account number for
All
that.
right, thank you.
We'll
Okay.
just make sure it's the right account.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Does anybody else have any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present?
Thank you for picking that up, Council, because I've been learning how these org things go and how it works, so I
Oh,
appreciate
accounting is
that.
always a fun thing.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Hey, thanks, Mike, for being here.
See you.
Okay, agenda item number 6, discuss and review a town manager transfer request for $25,000 from account number 001141-51100, assessor salaries and wages permanent, to account number 001141-530000, assessor special services, to cover invoices interim assessor special services per contract for September through January 1st, 2024. Entertain a motion of town council to recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Dow, second by Councilor Marquetti.
So
Mr.
simply
Manager.
what we're taking is whatever the assessor's salary would be and transferring it to specialized services because he's not an employee of the town, he's contracted with us. So we can't pay him out of that account for salary. So it's the estimated cost to get us through January. We may spend less than that because he's doing 1 to 2 days a week. But right now he's in setting tax rate season, so it's a little bit busy. But we anticipate that this is a good number to get us at least through to January.
Okay, so basically just moving it because he's contracted, not.
Correct, we can't pay out of the salary account, we have to pay it out of specialized services.
Makes sense to me. Does anybody have any discussion? Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Has he started work yet?
Oh yeah, he's been working since the day after he was appointed.
And what has he been doing?
Well, we have to set the tax rate, so he's checking valuations, working with Mass DOR, working with the tax collector's office to set the valuations, and there's a lot of work that has to be done. So, I mean, there's no doubt that he is earning his pay, because, as we're all aware, with lack of staff, things had not been done for 4 to 5 months when people were out of here.
Lack of management.
So,
all stuff.
there's a lot of catch up to do and a lot more that has to be done. So, this is just one little part of that. So, there's no doubt he's earning his pay.
What was it, Councilor?
I'm all set then.
Thank you. Councilor Dow?
Lack of management, not a staff. Thank you for coming in on board, you know.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Manager.
Well, when I say lack of staff, it's not the staff that were here, because the staff that were here were doing the best they could,
Correct.
but did not have management above them.
Exactly.
You know, you put 2 clerks in a town assessor's office that don't have, that have limited experience, not in their job function, but as an assessor, you can't expect them to manage that office for 3 to 5 months and expect everything to be on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I
That's
said.
what I meant.
Thank you for saying that and clarifying that, because it's not the employees.
No, I didn't
and
say
it's-
employee, I
it's-
said
yeah,
the
it's-
management.
But to be clear, that's right, because everybody is working hard to clear things up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dow. Anybody else have any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Moving on to agenda item number 7, discuss and review the payment for fiscal year 23, March 14th, 2023, invoice number 126611, Massachusetts Municipal Managers Association of $55, and FY23 invoice number 126825, Massachusetts Municipal Managers Association of $40, from FY24 account number 001123-571100, Town Manager Conference and Meetings account. Entertain a motion of Town Council to recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Dow, second by Councilor Marquetti. Mr. Town Manager.
Again, as we uncover things that had not been paid, as you can see, this invoice date is since March and April of 2023 that were found in the office. One was for MMA from interim manager Blanchard, and the other one is from the former HR director, that they attended meetings at the MMA, and as such, they are looking for their payment. So it will be coming out, it'll be a 2/3 vote when it goes to council because it is an unpaid bill, so we'll make sure the language is correct. It's paying an unpaid bill. But it's coming out of, the money's coming out of the FY24 line item. So under my current conference that I have for myself, so. and my staff.
Okay.
But it has to be paid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too bad we lost somebody there. Never mind. I could go off on a tangent and I won't. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add, Councilor Marquetti?
The only thing I wanted to say, and I know you're just saying that a lot of these payments we didn't know about, but he did submit a payment back in June for $723 to pay for his conferences and meetings. Why he didn't include this in there, I have no idea.
These were found on the HR desk when Noah took office.
Okay,
I'll just leave it at that.
alright, thank you.
Yeah.
But I mean, Blanchard knew he went to these other meetings, so it's like.
I can't explain what happened in that interim, Councilor Marquetti. I wish I could. I
Okay,
wish I could explain a lot of the things that I'm finding, but I think Chairman Lazo said we're playing cleanup,
yeah,
and we certainly are.
alright, thank you.
Thanks for the questions, Councilor Marquetti, too. They're good.
And I'm not disparaging former interim town managers, just he was only here, he's limited at a part-time basis, so,
Lack of management.
yeah, so.
Yeah, I hear you. Does anybody else have any other comments?
No.
All right. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 8, discuss review approval of payment of June 30th, 2023 KP invoice number 143351 $2610.00 unpaid balance of $810 in legal bills for KP Law FY23. Entertain a motion to Town Council to recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Dow, second by Citizen Member Kelly. Is this the
This is the same one we
redacted-
talked about the last time. I unredacted the cable TV portion of it because that contract is settled. I never got a definitive answer from Copeland and Page based on the last conversation, but I wanted to get this bill paid, and I'll bring back to General Gov the next time about what I find on releasing the entire bills for review. It's just that we are working on a bunch of other legal things, and this is kind of left behind, but I made the decision, let's just release it, let's get the bill paid. It does give you the information, I think you would agree. There's nothing really client privilege there, that I see. I just wanna get a definitive answer, but, I just wanna get this bill paid, and we can
Yeah.
have a further discussion about legal bills later on.
And you know, to me, the majority of the reason why it was under budgeted is because of cable. So at least what you've unredacted to me is the overage that we've been discussing.
What they did is they didn't encumber enough.
Right.
When they closed out the year, they didn't encumber enough in FY23 legal to cover it. That's why we have to cover it.
Okay. Well, this was the motion that was postponed from last meeting. So does anybody have any further discussion on this, Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. So there's still portions of this that are blacked out, and what's confusing about it is that I look at this and it says 2610, and you go through the end of the blackout and it still says 2610. So
Because
To me-
that was left, we already paid the rest of the bill for all the other accounts that are under
so
that.
why would they be blacked out? I mean, nothing personal about that.
No, those are not just cable, it's a bunch of different personnel matters,
But when
labor
I,
issues.
when I go to the end of all these pages here, it says 2610.
That's, all she did was carry down what the total bill was that we were paying. 2610. The bill itself is $5,200. We owe 2,600. The rest of this bill has been completely paid. Reviewed by
Okay,
reviewed by the town manager's office, paid. It was the cable portion that did not have enough money in
The
it.
part that was
is it
unredacted.
2610 or is it 8?
810 is what's left. They encumbered the money. So when you get to the end of the fiscal year, you anticipate the bills that are gonna come in. And you try to do your best job, or anybody does their best job to figure out, okay, I know that I have this invoice coming in. Most departments are, okay, I went to a garage and had my cruiser fixed. I know there's a bill out there. I have $5,000 left in my account. They told me the bill's gonna be 2,300. I encumbered 2,300 because I don't have the bill yet. Because the end of the fiscal year comes. That bill can come at the end, after the end of the fiscal year, and be paid because you encumbered the money.
Alright.
So in this case, they didn't encumber enough money to pay the bill, so we have to pay the rest out of this fiscal year.
So this 2610 is what they billed us, but we still owe 8.
8, right, correct.
So we're going to be voting to pay
8. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I still don't like the blackouts.
No, I'll get a better answer on it. I just want to get this bill paid because
But could you just the way I'm understanding Mr. Jovan is that the blacked out parts that
our
has
other department,
but that has been
that
paid.
has been totally paid.
That the blacked out parts have already been paid. Okay.
It's all been paid.
No, that's
Reviewed by the town manager.
To
Okay.
me, it looked like one invoice for cable.
No, it was. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what it is. No, what do we have? There is. Labor issues. Ongoing negotiations with different parties. So
All right,
as soon as I get the answer, I have no problem releasing as long as I can. But
okay,
this cable contract is done. We're just waiting for the sign from them,
thank you.
but it's done.
so at least the blackout parts have already been paid.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Does
Yeah.
anybody else have any other discussion?
And just as a clarification, it looks like this portion of the bill adds up to 2610. So that would, a portion of that would have already been paid.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just the 810 portion.
Okay, so looks like
Which
they
is?
encumbered,
Huh?
Which is,
What?
well, if this is all the itemized for the 2610,
Yeah.
where's the itemization for the 810?
looks like
No,
we,
it's part of it.
Okay.
It's part of
That's
the
just a little-
2610.
It's just a little.
it looks like we encumbered 1,800 plus, and then we're missing 810 to
810,
make
that's what it was.
2610,
All right,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. You're exactly right.
right? Okay.
Very good.
Yeah,
All right.
That's how that works.
Okay.
Does anybody have any more discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present, thank you. Agenda number 9, discuss and review whether to recommend town council enter into an agreement with Matrix to complete the community compact best practice for municipal fiber assessment for $31,800 and allow the town manager to sign any related paperwork. Entertain a motion to recommend to town council for approval. Motion, second, Councilor Dow, okay.
All right, thank you. If anybody, I don't know if everybody knows Victor from the our IT director. This is Steve Kelly. So, prior to me coming here, they had gone out for this community compact grant to do an assessment on municipal fiber. And then we had some individuals come, give us some ideas, and then they went up, Victor and Peg went out to bid for requests for proposals. And this came in, and this is a project that would be multifaceted project, but it's to bring municipal fiber to our town buildings right now, not the schools yet but this is to build the municipal fiber. But I'll let Victor answer any questions that you might have. All right, Victor, if you want to come up here, it's fine. Because it's just easier for people to hear when they.
Okay. Councilor?
Thank you, Chair, for you. Is that through any grant or the town have to pay for it?
This is all grant money that,
Oh, grant money.
from the state. It was a grant for $50,000 that, we were awarded, and, there's no match. It's all, and so what originally happened was it was approved to apply for the grant. We received it, and then, Peg and I went and put out two RFPs, because the first RFP, we got two vendors that submitted, but one was disqualified for a mistake. They put it in their RFP, and instead of just automatically going to the one, we resubmitted the RFP with no responses, and then we put out a quote for 3 quotes. Well, we received 3 quotes, and in that process, you accept the lowest quote automatically, and Matrix was the lowest quote. They happened to also be one of the original RFPs that were submitted, and not the one that made the mistake. So we went with them.
Okay, and what's the study maintenance on that after?
What's up? I'm sorry.
Is any maintenance, any bills is gonna come after?
No. This is just a feasibility study to kind of give us a roadmap to our options as far as fiber builds and connecting buildings to
So-
create infrastructure.
So if you still have 19,000, why wouldn't do all the buildings, including the school, one time, as well we have the grant money?
That's a fair question. I don't think it was came up in discussion, but the 19th we can go back to them and see what the feasibility is with that difference, because we can't use that money on anything else, so it would have to go back to the state.
So why not?
I think when we first approached this, because this was the feasibility study about getting the fiber, so you'd have the hub wherever it is, correct, and the fiber would go building to
Create a
building
ring.
in a town. It would create a ring. So the original, and then we would have to then find additional grant money or infrastructure money to purchase the items to do that ring.
To build.
So when we thought, because we had somebody, I had found some individuals come out and give us some conversation about it. It was, when you look at it, some of the schools were on the outskirts in order to build that, would we have enough money to do that? Now, perhaps with the additional money, we can seek, if it's okay, All right, give us a separate, if we were to include that. So we could take a look and talk to Peg about whether we can do that or not.
Right.
But the thought process was, it's gonna be expensive for us to build that infrastructure out. So let's get the feasibility done to start, the town buildings and then work to expand that.
And to give some history on the RFP process, we went much larger in that request for RFPs, and it was closer to the pretty much all but $50,000, and included some more residential type studies. So I think we went bigger, and then with the quotes, we brought it in just to have a better idea how to begin.
Because I think the goal would be to at least get it started, on reasonable amounts of money that we might be able to gain, as opposed to thinking this big picture and not ever be able to afford it. So let's start the process, because right now, every town building has separate phone systems and all that, so they'll be able to contact buildings. It's all outside lines and all that. So it's really to build some efficiencies within the town buildings, and then to expand it from there. But be realistic in how much money we might be able to realize to start building it.
So this is just a study. Is any open grant in the future to build them the way the town manager said?
We are looking at other grants. Actually, the next item is similar to the idea of equity in the town, as far as what we have and including residential type of environments for infrastructure, and the potential for that. And then in the spring, the feasibility study, we have a time to be completed, like in March, because there is a fiber grant that we want to apply for in the end of March, April, I believe, that is more towards building that structure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, absolutely. No, you guys, I was letting you take this over because you have good
The
discussion.
fire chief and I and the deputy chief had a meeting with National Grid, and we talked about possibly doing fiber within town, and they have already stated that they would be willing to work with us on the poles, because we already have the fire alarm systems wired, and we already have space on those poles.
Oh, okay.
So we would be able to, they would work with us to, when it gets to installing that wiring.
Use their phone.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
I was listening in the background to, just in the end, I'm hoping that whatever the study provides for us, and I knew it was going to eventually talk about looping back to the fire station. I've always wanted Spectrum, who is the main person here, to upgrade the whole town to fiber. And I'm just hoping that this feasibility study might show that after we take care of our central hub, there might be some more, it might be more enticing for Spectrum to come in and do the whole town. I realize it's a much larger conversation, but while there are a lot of ways to lay the fiber in the end, I am for a fiber study, because I do think that our infrastructure is behind. And after being here as the station manager of cable years ago, I was lucky enough to have the job as the teacher during the day, because at the school system at the time, this is back in 2014-15, I was able to bring the town council meeting there and upload it much faster. I used to try to upload the meeting here, and it would shut down almost the whole building. Nobody could do any work, and I remember one day I got in trouble for that. So we are very behind in fiber, and it is really important, I think, especially with the amount of money we pay in taxes, and the feasibility, to do a feasibility study to make sure that these high-powered services of some of the best police and fire in the state, they need to be able to have the infrastructure as well as this building itself. So, if there's anywhere, if you're ever talking to the people that you end up hiring for this, if you just happen to pick their brain on the side of, you think Spectrum will ever feel like upgrading, because they always say that our area is not worth it to them, which I hate when people say stuff like that, but I really wish that Spectrum would, maybe they see you do such a good job on this loop, and they're like, all right, Amazon's right up the road, why don't we rewire Southbridge? Because then everybody's cable bill would go down, because they'd be you know, after they pay back the installation. Anyway, a little off topic, but I'm going to support this assessment. Is there anybody else, Councilor Marquetti?
Well, I think
Councilor Chenier?
had his hand up
Just
first.
one question, the
Yeah.
library's going through this, so we appropriated $100,000 for that. Is it worthwhile putting that project on hold and tying this all together?
It is, we're working with Margaret for that purpose. So this is gonna help that project as well.
And again, maybe you don't know or know, isn't Spectrum doing an upgrade within the community presently?
I don't know, I can find out.
Yeah, maybe
I'll talk to
worthwhile,
them.
because the tech guy told us that it's a 2-year project that they're doing, so
We can check.
maybe it's.
That'd be fantastic, because our citizens pay quite a lot, so,
But
but,
yeah, I don't know, just because there's $100,000, so they can
Yeah.
utilize it to do all the,
We've had conversations about that.
good, thank you.
awesome. Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Just a couple of things. I thought it was Verizon that was doing the fiber optic in town. It's Charter? I thought it was.
I'm not sure, I'll have to verify who's doing the charter. This is
No.
totally off of our,
No, I remember when, and it's in this agenda here, and I remember when we voted $100,000 for the library. But, so I went back and looked at the minutes for that meeting, and according to the minutes, there is fiber optic downtown. It's just going from the building, from the pole to the building. And I thought, why would it take $100,000 to go from the pole to the building? Unless the minutes are wrong here. That's what I think it says.
I think it said they
Is there
ended up
fiber
discovering
optic
line.
downtown?
I have, and that's why the feasibility study. We have no idea where actual fiber's coming through.
Yeah.
And figuring out that infrastructure and how we loop into that. And on that same thing, if there is even a line into the building, the construction of that, whether it's coming in over a pole or underground for conduit, and then having the proper equipment internally to receive that, those are other expenses. But the feasibility study will help. I mean, one of the priorities was because Margaret had the ARPA funds for that. That is priority with that project.
And then there's another 250,000 that you're planning on applying for after
Yep.
this study.
Yep.
And that seems like a lot of money, and you're not going to, I would prefer that they include a study of the residents as well.
Well, and that might be the next agenda topic, and getting on board with that, when we discuss that. But there's MBI digital equity planning program that we're hoping to. They will do those type of assessments,
Okay.
and see what we can benefit from that.
And finally, I would just like to see the RFPs on this.
Oh, from the original.
third.
Yeah, in my packet. If I could, please.
Oh,
Okay.
the RFP that went out for this? Yeah, we can go.
Thank you. That's
All
it.
set? Councilor Chenier
I
again?
thought during discussion with Margaret, she mentioned that the line was coming from Verizon, from Sturbridge, because it ended in Sturbridge and it was bringing it that way. I could be wrong, but I thought during the discussion of the 100,000 at the APA meeting, that she mentioned the Verizon coming from Sturbridge.
I don't know if it was Verizon or who the vendor is. Their fiber does stop, I believe, at Sturbridge when they did their project. As to where, I can't speak to it.
Yeah, it says right here, sorry, I didn't mean to cut in.
It's okay,
It
Councilor.
says right here in the minutes that I took a look at the minutes, Victor and Peg, that IDEO came up during Vision 2050 forum. Might be able to extend the mass broadband 123 service now in Sturbridge. Margaret quoted Verizon at a higher cost, and Charter has it from the pole to the building. So,
Yep. Because the MBI original project several years ago, I believe they were closer to Sturbridge and stopped at Sturbridge.
yeah.
And there are other projects now trying to go beyond that.
All right, thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, unanimous, all present. Agenda item number 10 is discuss and review whether to recommend town council apply for the Mass Broadband Institute's Municipal Digital Equity Planning Program. Entertain a motion to town council to recommend approval.
Council.
Second.
Okay, Motion by Counselor Dow, second by Counselor Marquetti.
I'll just leave this up to
Gentlemen,
Victor.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
This came up recently. That's why we threw it at the last minute on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because it came to me and Peg, and we thought, well, it's a no match. MBI it's a constantly rolling basis. So you apply, and hopefully they accept the community to do the study, and they look at digital equity in town, insufficiencies. Or even if we're really great, they'll let us know where we're doing great on that end, and just give us a whole overview picture of what is needed or not needed in town in regards to the entire town.
Okay. Counselor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did go online and looked at this whole plan. It's a lot to read there. I kind of skimmed through a little bit of it. Do you think we actually qualify for this? I think it had to be 300% poverty rate
I
compared to the.
Peg and I talked about it. She seemed to think that we could apply for it.
Right.
I mean, the worst case scenario, they say no, but
Right,
it's worth trying.
There was also two different plans. One is to have a charrette, which I don't think we're going to do.
Yes,
I
right.
find it hard to believe that we would actually put together a charrette for that.
Yeah.
And the other one is just to have a consultant, but he would also be, or he or she would also be talking to different department heads, I would presume.
Yeah, we still need to look at the nitty gritty of what their process is, but to get on the plan and try to apply for it.
That's a good idea. I mean, a lot of communities are going for it, so I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Any other discussions?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Again, I apologize, your packets are wrong because of me. Last second, we posted at 3:36.
Just to add something now.
Agenda 11. Yeah, Councilor Marquetti, what do you
Just-
have to say?
Some future down the road here,
Yeah.
both Councillor Shenier and myself would like something, we'd like to talk about a zoning change in the future, possibly allowing mobile homes in Southbridge. Right now, it's completely restricted, we're not allowing it, and it's something that we'd like to talk about.
If you could put it sooner than later, because they've been talking this for years. And it's being able, the middle class person is finding it very difficult to buy houses, because you're looking at $350,000–400,000 today. But we've talked about, and I brought up before, Nick was opposed to it altogether because he didn't think it was fair, but a mobile home park development, kind of like Kelly Park, we don't allow it in our community, but we would like to have a discussion if it's worth it.
I understand. Yeah. And Councilor Dow, you wanted to
Yeah,
add?
you just say, just special places, park, not everywhere, just
No,
allow.
Right.
not in your backyard.
You know.
Yeah.
Right, not all over town.
Just put your trailers in the
You have to
yard.
be a certain
Yeah.
acreage.
Gotcha. Okay, well maybe we can look to that for the future.
And just one more thing.
Yes, Mr.
In the future, we'll make sure, I know the notice went out late for this meeting on Monday. When we pick a date, we'll make sure that we send please hold this date, so, and then agenda to follow, so that way you'll have a heads up that the meeting's gonna be on this date. So my apologies for that, I talked to Matt about that, but, cause he's fitting into his role too, and how we do things, so I apologize for the lateness. At least letting you know there was a meeting, that way you'll have it on your calendar and you'll know that the agenda's coming.
Alright.
Okay.
Okay, and if at any time, if anything's missing from the agenda, please contact me and we'll make sure we get it added to the packet or do an addendum to it, so that last minute, we're not here to say, hey, where was this?
Yeah.
Okay.
One more thing, can
Yes.
we add the discussion about, just hear the music, I'm deaf, you see the music loud, can we add that in the discussion for next meeting?
I think
too?
that's a PPP thing, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, agenda item 11 is adjournment.
Loud music.
Second, all those in favor? Opposed? Meeting's adjourned at 6:59.